In 2013, 68-year-old Margaret Woodward, a longtime resident of Long Eaton, a quiet town in England, found herself living in fear. Over the course of that year, her home was targeted repeatedly by burglars. 5 separate break-ins left her shaken and on edge. Each time, valuables disappeared, and her sense of safety inside her own home grew smaller. Despite her growing unease, Margaret had initially resisted installing security cameras, hoping the problem would resolve itself. But after the 5th burglary, police urged her to take stronger security measures. Trusting their advice, she finally agreed to have home surveillance cameras installed around her property. Not long after the system was set up, her decision proved to be a wise one. At around 1 a.m. on the night of the 6th break-in, the cameras captured chilling footage. A man crept silently around the house while Margaret slept in her living room chair. Unaware of the danger lurking just feet away, she remained sound asleep as the intruder moved deliberately through her belongings. The burglar, later identified as 51-year-old Patrick Reed, helped himself to Margaret's possessions with unsettling calm. Piece by piece, he gathered valuables, completely undisturbed. For several minutes, Margaret remained oblivious, until Reed accidentally triggered an alarm. Startled awake, Margaret immediately reacted. Despite her age, she grabbed her cane and bravely chased the intruder out of her home. Though she was unable to catch him, the incident didn't end there. Thanks to the clear surveillance footage, police were able to identify Reed and connect him not just to this burglary, but to all 6 break-ins that had tormented Margaret over the year. Investigators later determined that Reed had stolen a combined total of about $1,000 worth of Margaret's belongings, much of it irreplaceable to her. When brought to trial, he showed little remorse, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. He was ultimately sentenced to 4 years and 8 months in prison, finally bringing an end to Margaret's year-long ordeal. Footage from a doorbell camera at a home listed for sale captured a bizarre incident in the early morning hours. Around 4:30 a.m., the homeowner's still-active security system recorded a man sprinting across the street, cutting through the yard, and running straight to the front door. The man was completely naked, using one hand to cover himself. The event was caught from 2 different camera angles. Police later confirmed he was under the influence of crystal meth and had stripped off his clothes after convincing himself that snakes were inside them. In his drug-induced panic, he had been running through the neighborhood, frantically ringing doorbells and banging on doors while shouting for help. According to neighbors, the area is usually very quiet, with nothing like this happening before. The homeowner later described what he saw. He ran up my front yard, onto my porch, and kept hammering the doorbell and knocking for about a minute. He was pacing back and forth, looking terrified one moment, then completely deranged the next. At one point he yelled that he needed help, and then suddenly bolted off into the night. Police picked the man up around 5 a.m., just a short distance away, finally putting an end to the strange and unsettling ordeal. At around 5 a.m. on October 2nd, 2022, a disturbing scene was captured on a home's doorbell camera. 3 masked men stood at the front door, each holding weapons and wearing masks similar to those from the Purge movies. Almost immediately, one of them noticed the camera and pressed his gloved hand over the lens. For much of the clip, all that can be seen is the dark leather of the glove, but at one point he briefly removed it, giving the camera a clear shot of all 3 men crouched low against the wall, seemingly trying to avoid detection from inside. Meanwhile, the homeowner was awakened by a motion alert on his phone. When he opened the app, he was confused to see nothing but a glove covering the camera. Unaware of what had happened moments earlier, he used the doorbell speaker to call out, "Hello." "Hello," the masked man gave no reply. Concerned, the homeowner quickly dialed the police. By the time officers arrived, the men had vanished. Theories about their intentions vary. Some believe they were trying to lure the homeowner into opening the door so they could rush inside. Others think they were attempting to pick the lock while keeping the camera obstructed. Whatever their plan was, it's clear the outcome would not have been good had the homeowner opened the door. This footage comes from a home security camera in Vacaville, California, recorded in April, a time when it's common to see kids walking home from school in the afternoons. In the video, a young girl carrying a backpack comes into frame, making her way home like many others. What isn't immediately obvious is that she had been followed for several blocks by a man driving a dark-colored Pontiac. The girl quickly realized she was being watched, so she used a large parked truck on the side of the road as cover. She stopped walking, hiding herself from the driver's line of sight. The Pontiac rolled to a stop, waiting for her to reappear. When she didn't, the driver lingered for a short while before pulling away slowly. The girl remained hidden, unsure of her next move. Moments later, she spotted the car circling back. She stayed behind the truck, and when the Pontiac passed again, the driver actually reversed in an attempt to get her attention. Each time he tried to reposition, she shifted too, making sure to stay out of sight. Eventually, the car drove off once more, and the girl seized the opportunity to run. After tips poured in identifying both the vehicle and the driver, police opened an investigation. They determined the man behind the wheel was 24 years old and interviewed him. 10-year-old Graydon from Riverton, Utah, was walking home alone from basketball practice one December evening around 6 p.m. Not far from his house, he noticed a four-door sedan trailing him slowly. Inside were two men who seemed to be watching his every move. Graydon grew uneasy and quickened his pace. Moments later, the car pulled up alongside him. The men rolled down their window and tried to lure him in, saying there was candy in the back seat. Graydon ignored them and kept walking faster toward home. By the time he reached his family's front porch, the doorbell camera captured both him and the suspicious car in the background. As he grabbed the handle, he realized the front door was locked just as the car's reverse lights came on, signaling it was backing toward him. Alarmed, Graydon picked up rocks from the ground, ready to defend himself. Then, in a quick decision, he bolted to his neighbor's house. Luckily, their door was unlocked. This footage serves as a chilling reminder of why you should always be cautious about who's at your door, especially late at night. A doorbell camera can give you those precious few seconds to decide whether it is safe to open up. In this case, however, a homeowner made the mistake of opening the door without checking first, and what followed could have ended very badly. Around 1 a.m., the camera captures a hooded man approaching the front door. His movements are quick, almost aggressive, and the first thing he does is test the doorknob. When it doesn't open, he immediately rings the bell. Despite the suspicious behavior, the homeowner answers the door almost instantly, greeting the stranger with a friendly hello. The man, clearly unstable, mutters incoherently, asking odd questions and refusing to leave. The homeowner quickly realizes something is wrong and begins pushing the man back. In response, the intruder swings his fist at the glass door, shattering it before it could be fully closed. Even after being shut out, he lingers on the porch, tugging at the handle and pacing back and forth as though trying to get inside. Though much of the dialogue is hard to make out, imagine coming home from a quiet evening walk with your dog, only to realize within seconds that you're not alone. That's exactly what happened to one woman, and her doorbell camera caught the entire terrifying sequence. As she reaches her front door, she begins removing her dog's leash. But then she glances to the side, freezes, and instantly scoops up her pet before rushing inside. Moments later, the reason becomes clear. A man walks into frame, heading straight for her door. He immediately tests the handle, but she had locked it just in time. The man then slips on a pair of gloves, raising even more alarm, and according to the homeowner, he was also carrying zip ties. He peers inside the home, tugging at the doorknob multiple times. A few minutes later, a neighbor steps outside, and the man quickly grabs a garden hose, pretending to do yard work to avoid suspicion. Once the coast is clear, he circles to the back of the house. There, he grows more aggressive, attempting to pry open the back door. Terrified, the homeowner locked herself in a room and dialed 911. In the minutes it took for police to arrive, the man tried nearly every possible entry point: windows, doors, even ripping a screen off one of the back windows. Luckily, none of his attempts worked, and he left before officers arrived. The homeowner later shared the footage on TikTok, hoping someone would recognize him. But as of now, his identity remains unknown. A viewer sent me this unsettling footage captured on his doorbell camera in the middle of the night. At around 2 a.m., a man can be seen crouched walking up to the front door. He is completely disguised, wearing a hat, face mask, and sunglasses, leaving none of his face visible. He first tugs at the front door handle, and when that fails, he starts tampering with the doorbell itself, appearing to realize it's a video doorbell and likely attempting to disable or remove it. When he discovers it can't be unmounted without a special screwdriver, the stranger instead holds his hand over the camera, trying to block the feed. He also rings the doorbell, which instantly sends a notification to the homeowner's phone. Checking the live feed, the homeowner saw exactly what you're seeing now and immediately called 911. Moments later, the intruder moves to the side of the house. While still on the phone with the operator, the homeowner hears the side door handle being rattled. That door was one he occasionally left unlocked by accident, but fortunately, this time it was secured. Unable to gain access, the masked man begins speaking through the door in a disturbingly cheerful tone, repeating hello over and over. The operator instructed the homeowner not to respond. The situation escalates when the man starts pounding on the door before eventually giving up and leaving. Police arrived shortly after but had little to go on. Later that same night, another motion alert came through, but when the homeowner checked the live feed, no one was visible. To this day, the identity of the masked individual remains a mystery. The clip opens with a frantic scene, a mother and her children rushing to gather belongings, their movements quick and urgent. This wasn't just an ordinary evening in Canyon County, California. A massive wildfire was tearing through the area. In the distance, thick smoke and glowing flames creep closer, looming over the hillside behind their neighborhood. The family shoves items into bags, uncertain how many minutes they have left. Suddenly, a neighbor sprints across the street, shouting a warning that the fire is advancing fast. That's the final push they need. They abandon what's left, jump into their car, and flee the neighborhood. They find refuge at a nearby hotel, waiting in uncertainty as the blaze rages on. Days later, once the fire recedes, they return to see what's left. By some stroke of luck, their home still stands, untouched by the flames. But just down the street, the story is different. Several houses are reduced to ash, showing just how narrowly this family escaped disaster. Is it normal for someone to follow you all the way home from the mall? For this family, that chilling question became reality on the night of February 20th, 2022. A woman and her two daughters had just returned from shopping, their home security camera capturing them stepping inside and shutting the door. But only moments later, a man appears from behind their parked truck, immediately reaching for the door handle. When he realizes it's locked, he pulls at it a few more times before casually walking off. Yet, a neighbor's camera later revealed the truth: he hadn't gone far. For the next 5 minutes, he lingered outside, circling the home while on his phone. Reviewing the footage more carefully, uncovered something even worse. The man had actually followed them from the store, parking his car a few houses down before making his move. Thankfully, the family managed to get inside and secure the door just in time. The homeowner later admitted she didn't believe robbery was his goal, but rather that he saw an opportunity when he noticed a woman and two girls walking into a house alone. Police searched the area, but the man was never found.